Today is a big day of celebration. We are here with Kenna Miller, and we're going to look at her capstone or final project portfolio because she is in her final course for the MSIDT program and will be the first one to complete the uh, the entire program. And she did it. It's competency based. She made some amazing projects, and she's here to share them with us today. So, Kenna, so first off, congratulations on getting to this point as the first one in the MSIDT program. And how was the journey? Even before we jump into your portfolio, how was the journey getting through it?
Thank you so much, George. And I just feel so blessed that I was able to go through this program. And it was a wonderful journey. I was able to grow a lot of my ID skills, work on projects that I actually get to use because I've been in other programs before where, you write that paper and do that project and then you never look at it again. So that was an awesome aspect of this program. And I really feel like I've grown in so many ways, not only in what I do here at LAPU, but just my knowledge and skills of instructional design in general. So I love this program and I'm very thankful for the opportunity to go through it.
And that is just awesome because that's the great part about CB is you create projects that matter, and you really just can utilize them however you see fit. And you really excelled within the program. Do you have any helpful hints for anyone thinking about getting into the MSIDT program and how to excel within, CBE, because it is a little bit different. It's not for everybody. It's a little bit different. Do you have any helpful hints?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things, and I know it helped because I was already working in the field of instructional design, but try to tie whatever the artifact or course is to something that you're working on in your profession or something that you are just very passionate about, because I really feel like that helps not only motivate you, but it helps you be excited to actually do the work and to um, make those connections about what you're learning to the actual artifact that you're creating. And I think that's a really important part of CBE since it's all self paced and a lot of it has to do with the information that you're taking in and the conversations you have with your faculty coach. So my biggest tip would be just to try to connect what you're learning to whatever you're passionate about. You're going to be way more willing and excited to work on it. And I think a lot of the artifacts can really be tailored to support those things.
Well. On that note, let's jump in and see what you have for us. See what you built during your time.
All right. So I have my presentation here. I'm going to jump right in. Thank you for joining this presentation of my portfolio. I'm really excited to show off some of the really cool things that I made and explain my reasoning and just kind of highlight some of the really cool things that I was able to create. I didn't anticipate that I would be able to make those connections between work and school and things that I'm passionate about. So let's dive in and we can take a look at those. So first, I have my intentions here, and my portfolio is intended to communicate not only what I have learned, but to showcase the skills and abilities that I've developed. And I think that you'll be able to see those tie into instructional design and all the work that I do here at LAPU. And then I did want to take a minute to introduce myself. I know, George, you know me pretty well, but to everyone else, I'm a senior instructional designer here at LAPU. My background is actually in business, so I didn't have any formal training in instructional design at all. Thank you, George, for giving me that opportunity to jump in and really grow my skills in this area. My passions are artificial intelligence, improving processes, and trying new things. And I am very excited always to do all of those things here at work. And it just makes it a wonderful place for me to come and be creative and grow. So I'm very excited and thankful for that. And then my professional goals are to just continue growing my skills in instructional design and to really just create the best student experience. And whether that is brainstorming ways to integrate AI or looking at how we build courses, I'm always kind of thinking, how can I improve the student experience and make it a better, more holistic experience for them? So that's a little bit about me, and we can jump right into. I have the agenda here, so I'm going to go over 4 different projects that I made and kind of just go through my thought process behind them, the reasoning behind certain decisions, and then how they connect to the actual program as well. And then I'll jump into a little bit about what I learned, and then we can also do a Q&A and feedback at the end, if there is any. So the first thing that I have here is the AI Skill Center, and I created this for the e-learning course that we have in the MSIDT program. So the AI Skill Center is a student-facing website that is meant to explain all the different components of AI, but also dispel fear, because I know that there is a lot of fear about using AI correctly and ethically, and a lot of students don't want to plagiarize or do anything that they shouldn't be doing, which is a good thing. But this whole website is created to just explain what AI is and to give more comfort when using it, I think. So I will jump right into that so we can take a look at that. And I built this skill center in Google Sites, so it is accessible on the internet. You can look it up and actually go through it if you'd like. But there are videos that kind of just explain what the whole center is about. And then we cover a couple different topics here. So we have an introduction to AI. So kind of just more information about what it is and how it works, which I feel like is very helpful for a lot of people, because there is some confusion about different AI tools, generative tools, GPTs, all of those types of things. And without diving in the weeds, it's kind of hard to get a 10,000 foot view of what they actually do and how they work. So that's the goal of that section. We have a section on how to use AI, how to use AI responsibly, some different AI tools and platforms that are especially helpful for students, and AI in your career. So how AI can be leveraged to help you in whatever your field or career is, or if you are a student, how it can be leveraged to help you find that job that you are really looking for. So the website or the site is all accessible, and you can go through it and kind of find whatever you need from this main page. There's also a sidebar where you can access all of these things. We also have AI and Christianity and some FAQs here as well. But again, the goal for the course was to develop e-learning and media and all of those types of things. So this is my take on an interactive site where students can go in and learn whatever they need to learn. And yeah, I think it's a really great way to kind of communicate what we have here at LAPU and what we want students to know about AI.
So this center is really, really interesting, and it's well put together as well. How many different people did you coordinate with to create this?
So for this particular site, I actually really just created it with the help of AI tools as kind of
Nice.
like a brainstorming piece about what students should know. And then as far as the creation pieces, I developed all parts of it, from the videos to the content, all of that type of thing. With, of course, consulting with my faculty coach, George. But yeah, so I mostly used AI tools. So ChatGPT, I used Bard or Gemini, and I believe Copy AI for this one. So
So
that
let me
was a
put you
really
on the
interesting
spot. Well, what's
process.
your
Sure.
favorite tool?
Uh, I would say, depending on what it's for, I go back and forth between ChatGPT and Gemini.
Okay.
I feel like Gemini, probably I use it a little bit more, just depending on for a lot of like design purposes, I use Gemini a little bit more, but I do like Chat GPT too. And I feel like I use that a lot at the beginning. So it knows me a little bit better, maybe. Um,
Okay.
yeah, but I'd say those two. What about you, George? Do you have a favorite tool?
I do, and I'm a big fan of ChatGPT 4 because I can do text to image, things like that as well. Where Gemini is great. I love Gemini, and we have our account with them, but you can't attach files, and it won't do text to image. So that's why I just kind of migrate to ChatGPT 4. Yeah.
That makes sense.
But I always consult with others, though I don't just take one and then do the right research. Just like you explain in your site, it's whoever's using it is responsible for it. It's not a if you don't research and make sure that it's correct, then it's on you, right?
Absolutely.
100%. Yeah, and that site was amazing. How did you so walk us through really quickly, if you don't mind, how did you come up with that concept for the AI Skill Center as part of the program?
Sure. So the course that this one ties to again is the e-learning course. So it has a lot to do with developing different types of media. So static, there is some static media on the site. There's videos and overall interactive media. So the site itself. And I thought that this would be a really great way to communicate to students what they need to know about AI. Like I mentioned, I know that there is a lot of fear about it. And at LAPU, we didn't really have some way to do that. Um, so I kind of just came up with this idea of, we're not forcing students to use AI, but if they want to learn more about it and kind of learn what our expectations would be, I guess, then this
Mhm.
would be a good way to do that. So the information's there if they need it, but we're not forcing them to go through an actual course or modules or assignments or anything like that, um, to really gauge if they've understood it or not.
And you know what's kind of really cool about the way you put that together is, yes, it's part of the e-learning development course, right? I believe that's the one you said it was part of. And a lot of times people think of e-learning and they think, okay, well, it has to be a specific course. No, learning happens everywhere all the time. You can create a website that is meant for learning. It doesn't have to be, this is an official course. You're doing X, Y, and Z. Creating a website like this was a fantastic way to educate people better and give them more knowledge. So it really fit the audience that you were aiming for, the audience that you built it for. So I thought it was a really cool strategy then just to come up with a normal course for the audience that you were building this for. You came up with a site. So they now have control over what they're learning and they can go find it. So I thought it was a great approach to it. It was very well thought out on your part.
Thank you so much, George. Should we jump into the next artifact?
What is the next one? Yes.
All right, so we have here the Grammarly study. So George and I actually worked on this paper together, and we created a study in conjunction with the company Grammarly, and we basically assessed the use of an AI tool, which is Grammarly Go, in our English 101 and 105 course. And so we looked at some different areas, which are overall grade outcomes based on use of the tool, intrinsic motivation, persistence, and then usage rates. So this was a really interesting study, I think, at least. And George, you can chime in on this as well. But I think it was a really interesting study to not only put AI in the classroom, but to analyze the results and analyze a couple different components of just the student's overall experience and whether or not it makes a difference in the classroom.
Yeah, and that's been a really neat approach, and it's actually being published, and we've made through the first two review cycles for one of the APA I forget,
Awesome.
it's technology, and I forget the name of it, but we're looking to publish it within the APA ecosystem of publications, and they really like the depth that we went into with that. We have to do some rework, of course, because you always have to rework once you submit. But it was kind of neat because we found that it makes a big difference when people have an AI tool automatically helping them do their work, and it makes them better writers. It doesn't just give them answers. It actually helps to make, in this case, better writers, which was kind of a neat finding that, we didn't know what to expect when we went in. We just kind of went in with a let's see what happens sort of attitude about it, and it was pretty cool the way it worked out.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't really know what to expect either, but the findings I think were promising, and it's really exciting just considering, this is one AI tool and it is making a difference on so many levels. What other tools are there that we can introduce to the online classroom or give to students and allow them to use to grow their skills? And I think that that is definitely a kind of a misconception about AI and education, is that, it does the work for you or it just gives you the answer, which isn't always the case. Specifically with Grammarly Go, like George mentioned, it really does help the student grow their skills and make adjustments in the moment, which is what a lot of our research had to do with as well. It gives feedback in the moment as the student's writing, so they are able to make adjustments or change their approach rather than waiting for summative feedback at the end once they've finished their paper and turned it in. So it's really interesting to see how that in the moment approach and just how feedback can make a difference. And if AI tools can provide that feedback, that's a really awesome thing.
Yeah, right. And then the question back and forth, because like now we've partially because of the success of this AI tool, we have now in the next term where we have our course assistants, which are AI, which is AI technology, so AI assistants within our courses now, because we wanted a place where students could go at any time and ask questions and get thoughtful responses. And none of this replaces faculty members or anything else, but it gives them more tools. It helps the learner, and it helps the professors and the faculty members really have more impact on the students. So it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Just another resource and another form of support. So
Yeah.
it's really
Right. Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun working on that with you, and it'll be fun working on the rewrite as we do it, or the update. It's not a total rewrite, but
Oh,
the
yeah,
the update. Uh,
definitely.
what came next? Because I know you have one on here that's so these first two. Yeah, there we go. So you mentioned do something you're passionate about and something you enjoy. So you did this, and it was very cool. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so for this actually was for the 540 course, which is the facilitation course. And I love sewing. That's one of my like passions and just
Nice.
hobbies in general. So I was able to create the artifact in a way that allowed me to bring in sewing, which again made it so much more fun and made me want to work on it so much more than if I was, creating a facilitation class about anything else.
Right.
um, yeah, but so for this course, the goal was to create a live course or demonstration of something, and then to create a facilitation guide for the facilitator. And I tied that to a sewing project. I actually created a tote bag pattern and then the guide for the facilitator to facilitate that course. And I had the opportunity to teach that course. And what made it really special was the student in that course was my mom. And I don't think that we will ever forget just that whole experience. So that was
That's
really
awesome.
cool. And I'll jump into the pattern real quick. So this again, I think all of the courses really align. Particularly for this course, you are required to make different deliverables or whatever media is needed for the course itself. So for the pattern, I actually had to not only write it, but take pictures and the measurements and all those things. So I have that here, the preparation pieces, the supplies that are needed, and basically all the steps. So from cutting to sewing to assembly, all of those steps are documented as well. It ties in a lot of the media pieces that are present in the other courses as well. So this is static media here, and kind of just, you have to make different design choices as well. And then when I sent this out to the learners, I downloaded it as a PDF, but then also went through the steps to make it accessible as well. So those are some pretty big pieces that you learn how to do, but you also have to consider, if you were teaching this to a big group, what would people need? Or if you were teaching this to a first time sewer, what would they need to know? So that definitely challenged me as well. And then I also have here the facilitation guide. And this is basically just a guide for somebody who would teach this course. So it goes step by step as far as what they need to teach the learners how to do. But then also it goes step by step through the pattern. So there are some different things here, like the course flow. So what the person would, say about the introduction, and then how they would prepare, how they would do all of the cutting and those types of things. And then it has timestamps here as well. Different objectives are present, information about the learners, how it should be delivered. I actually delivered this course on Zoom, so I was able to write that in there as well. The learner experience that I chose was the explain, assess, demonstrate, and then observe method. So the facilitator would explain what they need to do. There were formative assessments built into the actual Zoom, which was interesting. So you're kind of polling your learner to make sure they're on the same page before you sew, because it's really hard to, if you sew something wrong, then you have to pause, take out whatever you've sewn wrong, and go from there. So that was built in as well. The facilitator will then demonstrate, and then the facilitator observes the learners as they go through whatever the step is. And then let's see, I just want to scroll down to, so each of those steps are broken out. There's a description to do, the objectives that are tied to it, learner supports, and then the flow. There are also suggestions there. So I built out quite a few things into each section for a facilitator to make it as easy as possible. But I do want to scroll down just to the assessment piece, because that is also a really important part of facilitation, just, ensuring that your learner has actually learned what you anticipated. So there is a kind of rubric basically, but this information is also present here for the facilitator as they go through each of the steps. And then once they've gotten to the end and everybody should have had their tote bag made correctly, the facilitator will actually assess to make sure that all of the parts are sewn on correctly and all of that good stuff. So that is built into here as well. And overall, I think this was probably my favorite course, but it was a lot of fun to work with. And I think you can really tie in your passions to most of the courses, but the facilitation course for sure, whatever you're an expert in, that's a great opportunity for you to create something and teach other people how to do what you do. And it's a lot of fun. I think you're muted, George.
I never knew that your mom was the audience for that. Was the student in there? That is so cool, because I actually had the privilege to go through and evaluate that, and it absolutely looked like a lot of fun. And what's funny is you have your terminal learning objectives. So you've done some higher ed work, you've done some training work where you have terminal objectives, enabling objectives rather than learning outcomes. And you kind of brought me back, because back in my Lockheed days, believe it or not, we developed a sewing class because the trade was called a trimmer, and they had to sew a lot of I don't even know what it's called anymore, but the stuff, I'll call it quilts. It wasn't a quilt, but they had to sew the stuff that they put on the inside of the airplanes to keep it quiet and things like that. So you kind of brought me back as you were explaining it, because it's a skill, and I never learned it then. And as I was reviewing it and I tried to do it, I can't sew a straight line. I don't know how you do it. It's like this when I do it. I guess that's why I was an electronics guy, because my lines were never straight. They were always crooked. So you made
No
me
worries.
laugh inside.
I have tools on the sewing machine now, George. If I didn't have my tools, my lines would probably be crooked too.
That's awesome. So that was a lot of fun so far. Do you have anything else, or was that the last one that you're going to share?
Yeah, I have one more for us to
Okay.
look at. But again, I had so much fun. That was my favorite course, I think.
That's awesome. Big
um,
shout out to your mom for being the student within that one. That's cool.
yeah, definitely. The last one I have here is the ID best practice site. And this one is important to me. I think it has a very direct tie to what I do here at LAPU. When I became an ID, there weren't any processes or I guess, knowledge documented for me to refer to. And a lot of what I learned by doing, which I definitely am thankful for. And I think that that is a great way to grow your skills. And since every organization you work for is going to have a different process, you do have to learn by doing in a lot of ID positions. But it definitely would have been helpful to have something written down so that I could refer back to it, or even tips and tricks and those types of things. So for the knowledge management course and for the organizational development course, I decided to document our processes and gather knowledge from current IDs, and kind of compile it and organize it in one place, which I think is not only helpful for current IDs, just having all of the information in one place, but it will be helpful moving forward if other IDs ever join our team, or if we do need those training pieces or tangible things to refer to. So I will go ahead and jump into that site. I added the instructional design piece to our best practice site. The other teams on, or I guess sub teams of the digital learning solutions team already had their best practices documented. So I went ahead and built out the ID best practices in this site as well. It's just a Google site, but on the landing page, it has some helpful vocabulary. We have so many abbreviations, so this was where I
Ooh,
wanted to start.
right.
But yeah, so we have all of our abbreviations here, and then in our side menu, I won't jump into all of these pages, but I documented the roles and responsibilities. I feel like that's where a lot of confusion is for IDs. What do I take care of? What am I responsible for? And then everyone else on the design team, what are they responsible for doing? And then we have the overall course design process. So kind of a step-by-step instruction of this happens, then this happens, then this happens. We have our documents and processes. So these are all of the different documents that we work with in a design project. And there's information on each of those pages about what needs to be done for the document to be considered complete. We have the ID tools and tips. That one is kind of interesting. It has a whole lot of different tips here and just things that IDs will need to know as they're going through the course design process. There's even templates for messages. There's training here if they want to learn more about certain theories or those types of things, OERs, textbooks, just a whole lot of tips and information here. And then there's Slack and Smartsheet training. Those are two tools that we use in the course design process. There's AI, so some tips on integrating AI into courses, and then also ebooks and accessing the library as well. So basically, all of this information is just outlined to not only show our best practices as IDs, but to really create something that IDs can refer to. Because prior to this, we had a bunch of documents that were kind of all over the place, and there were a lot of questions as far as, oh, how do we do this? Or how, just from our team, how do you approach this? Or, that type of thing. So, it was very helpful not only to engage with other members of DOS and the other instructional designers on the team to gather this knowledge, but it was, I would say, very rewarding for me as well to just go through and document all of these things. I really enjoyed it, and I think that um, by going through, it actually helped me kind of refine my skills and just make the overall process a lot clearer and a lot more streamlined so that all instructional designers are able to find that consistency in their design projects.
That is very cool that you put that together. And really, one of the best ways to, as you already said, get better at what you're doing and to promote your expertise is to teach it. I mean, we learned that from Dr. Feynman, the famous physicist. If you want to learn how to do something really well, teach it to somebody because you have to really have that deep knowledge to be able to do that. And you showed that so well within these different projects that you did. You really highlighted your mastery of the different skills through the 10 competencies that we had. Was that the last? That was the last one, right? That you were going to show off. So we have
That was the last artifact.
So if anyone has any questions, we got the last couple minutes open for questions. We were going to leave that. So if we get if anyone wants to type in any questions or anything, feel free to just go ahead and give us a question now. But I have a question for you. So the process, you mentioned that you learned a lot of the ID process, learned by doing, which you did, and you did an amazing job with that. How did going through these projects, because the project you learned by doing within the projects as well, how did that help you gain the mastery of the content and the competencies that you were in? Was it helpful?
Oh, absolutely. And I think, working in higher ed, I'm very focused on our processes here at LAPU, how to make those better, how to make those work, and all of that type of, or I guess from that perspective. But going through this program, I was able to connect so many things just to that knowledge. There's a course on organizational development and training. So I was able to kind of bring that in. There's a course on theory. There's a course on research, all things I don't do in my position, but I was able to link my knowledge from working here at LAPU to those things and kind of understand, oh, that's what that is called. That's what I'm actually doing. And even though I didn't have a name for it before, it was really interesting to kind of make those connections and just grow my professional knowledge in general. Another example is the facilitation course. I had never taught a course before in general. And so going through the back end of that, making the deliverables, the facilitation guide, setting up the Zoom, emailing the participants, like all the pieces. I have a great appreciation for professors and instructors and anybody who facilitates courses. There's a lot that goes into it. So I think it's definitely helped me grow my skills, but has also just given me a greater perspective as far as what the instructional design role can be and how all of these moving parts really do play into it. And, like you mentioned, yes, a big piece of it is learning by doing, depending on where you work or what you specifically do. But having all of these pieces and tools in your toolbox will make it so much easier because you have that foundational knowledge to help you as you move forward in whatever field or career you have. So it was great.
That's awesome. Well, Kenna, thank you for sharing all that you did within the program to show people what it's all about. We just appreciate all that you did and the strong effort that you put in, because when we're going through graduate level, undergraduate level, it doesn't matter. There's more than one thing tugging at our lives, and people such as yourself that make education a priority and um, sacrifice some other things while you're going through certain programs to get to a bigger end goal at the end. It's just commendable to see how you managed everything, balanced everything, and kind of dealt with all the different parts and pieces of life that tug at you with work and school and everything else. So it's just commendable whenever somebody graduates from a program. So just my hats off to you and congratulations for all the amazing work that you put together for this. So thank you for all you do. And
Oh,
you
thank
want any
you.
final words before we punch out with our famous tagline?
Well, I just want to say thank you, George. I definitely couldn't have done this program without all of your support. The faculty coaches are just great in this program. They walk you through every single artifact and help you brainstorm and really achieve what you want to. And I think that's a really great part of this program. So thank you for all of the support and all of the attention to detail. I really appreciate it.
The pleasure and privilege was ours, and this is what learning feels like.